and in the most forested region in Kenya. And it's also the birthplace to the late Professor Wangari Maathai. So my inspiration is deeply rooted in the trees that I grew up seeing ahead of me, the bushes beside me, the clean streams and the rivers that were flowing close to my homestead, the bird songs, seeing butterflies, the flowers. These are the things that made me love nature, and in the process made me feel the pain of nature caused by environmental degradation, which is why I do not like to hope, I like to love. So I will love nature and protect nature, which is something that I really hope every one of us shared around the world. Because if you take it in your heart to understand that connection, the world, the earth, how that affects us, how we affect the earth, then we will be so careful and mindful not to harm that natural world. And it's important to understand why we do what we do today and how what we do today will impact the next generations and how it will impact the world in the future. I personally got an opportunity to plant my first tree when I was 7. But that's not how the story ended. It actually ended with an ecological grief where trees that we planted as children were slashed down, and we got to that forest that used to be beautiful, and there were tree logs and the tree stumps, and I couldn't understand why anyone would destroy such a beautiful forest. Which is why till today I do not understand why the world has to beg for action on the climate and the ecological crisis. Is it that people do not feel it in their hearts? Is it that people do not understand the pain of nature and the pain that would cause us? And the pain that is already causing so many people around the world. So back in 2016, I decided to embark on a mission to create a generation of environmentally conscious individuals. And that was purely inspired by that journey, the journey of growing up in the natural world, feeling the love for nature, in the process feeling the pain of nature, and in the process choosing to stand up and speak up for the natural world. So I founded the Green Generation Initiative to get children to love nature, because I know the power that comes with loving nature. Every time I see trees being cut down around the world, in my city, around my country, in the news, in the papers, it hurts to the core. And I would hope that everyone feels that pain of nature, because then we will not have to do most of the things that we do today. We will not have to get the children and the young people to carry all the burden begging for action, because our hearts will remind us what we need to do, and then we will be strongly disturbed and we will get to do what needs to be done. So through this initiative, we have been working with school children, and purely because not every child has had an opportunity to grow up in the forest or close to the trees, close to a place where they would connect to nature. In fact, for some of the people and the young people who are still passionate about the environment, their story could be different. Their story could be the pain of wanting to live in a world they've probably seen in a movie, in the books, but it's not where they're living right now. Could be in the cities. So this was a journey to make them love nature and to also transform their schools, to give them an opportunity to see nature, to connect with nature, and to understand what nature really is. So some of the things we have been doing include greening the schools, where a connection to nature for a child can even be a simple flower in their classroom where they don't have enough space to plant trees. And the other thing, we have been focusing on the tree. I talk a lot about the tree because it's deeply rooted. It's all from back as a child till now. So I started the campaign that I dubbed Adopt a Tree campaign to now make sure that every child in every school in my country would get a chance to plant and adopt a tree in their school compound. Because I believe a tree is life, and for it to survive, we need to nurture it and make sure it grows to maturity. It's one thing to plant a tree, but it's another to make sure that tree grows up to maturity. And in the process of doing that, the children are getting to love nature. And this is how this initiative is changing things and creating a generation of environmentally conscious individuals. And I believe in the power of collective action and in the power of getting it in ourselves to understand beyond our borders. Because right now, the climate crisis is impacting so many people around the world. But even though it's not happening where you are, it doesn't mean that it's not happening at all. There are people that have to go through the worst impacts of the climate crisis. So my message today would be for us to really, and I'll repeat, find it in our hearts to understand what's happening around the world. I'm just from another session listening to the indigenous communities, and it was really moving to listen to their cries and the pain that still the world is not recognizing. They are protecting our ecosystems, our lives, our planet, but still they continue to be sidelined. They still continue not to be heard. And I think it's really important that we get ourselves out of the norm and out of our borders and begin to have that humanity in us, to feel, understand, and listen to one another. Because that is what is going to move the world. And that is what is going to make change happen. And I'll just end with a really inspiring quote from Professor Wangari Maathai that moves me every other time. She always said that those of us who understand, who feel strongly, must not tire, and we must not give up, because the burden is on us who know, and those who don't know are at peace. It is us who know that get disturbed and are caused to take action. Opening your hearts is a way to get you to really be disturbed, and action will just come naturally, and we will not have to force it or demand for it. Thank you.